Amen, amen, amen. Good evening and welcome to Freed Souls Radio CF. This is your host, Elder Pamela Horn of Consuming Fire Ministries, coming to you from Haw River, North Carolina, with Fireside Talks, the ingredients of godly relationships. Amen. And tonight we have back with us my sister-in-law, Daphne, is in joining us, and we will be continuing part 3 of defining relationships.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. So I think when we left off, we were talking about the 4 basic types of relationships. We covered the family relationship, and we had started on the friend. So I'll give a little recap of that. Number 2, the friend is the one that promotes companionship, recognizes our strengths and weaknesses without taking advantage of us, and helps us to improve ourselves. It listens to our perspectives, our opinions, how we feel, how we think, and they don't judge us. And a friend guides us and helps us in difficult times. And that friend will make time for us and make an effort to maintain our friendship. And a friend also strengthens our self-esteem and our self-confidence. Amen.
Amen.
So I believe we were talking about one-sided relationships and one-sided friendships on last week. But a friend will value you just as much as you value them. A friend is going to be there in your corner in times of need, just as you would be there for them, you know. And like I said last week when we were talking, I was like, well, you know, I've had a lot of one-sided relationships, one-sided friendships, where I'm always the giver, and the other person is just taking. And you meet people like that, you know, are really self-centered and all about self. And those are the types of relationships where, you know, people just pull from you, and they don't have any regrets or whatever for the way that they treat you. You know, they take you for granted, basically. And it's like when I want to be your friend or I need something, I can dust you off and pull you off the shelf. But as long as I'm doing fine, I don't need anything from you, you know, no emotional support, any spiritual support, any financial support, any kind of support whatsoever. I don't need a ear to listen to me, you know, that type of thing. But they're the ones that's always calling on you and always, you know, dragging you through their experience. But when it comes time when, you know, you need somebody to listen to, they're not really available. Or you need somebody, you know, they're not really available. And it's not all the time, but it's like the majority of the time. So that's what I meant, you know, when I was talking about one-sided relationships. Amen.
Amen.
So what do you think about that? And as far as, you know, your friends, and, you know, have you?
Oh yeah, I've definitely had relationships where I felt like I was more vested in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it did appear to be more one-sided, mainly coming from me being more of the I guess the person to maintain or kind of, you know, keep the friendship
No.
you know, going. And I do have to agree that you know, this particular friend that I'm thinking of did often you know, resort to me when she was in need financially.
Yeah.
And then there were good moments in the relationship where she didn't need anything. That when we did have some good some good moments where it genuinely felt like we were both invested. But I still say I still was the one who was trying to sustain the relationship.
Right.
And
yeah. I going back in just thinking about relationships in the past, friendships in the past. Like I said, I'm always the introverted, shy person that likes the outgoing personality. That is my friend. My friend is gonna be the loud one in the room, the boisterous, the one that's gonna pull me out of my shell. And
gotcha.
That's how my best friend growing up was. So she was always trying to help me improve, on myself. So that's what a friend is. A friend is like pushes you to be the best you.
Absolutely.
Pushes you to come out your comfort zone, and that confidence builder, that type of person. And they always have that confidence, and they always have that kind of infectious personality that maybe you don't have, but they're always encouraging you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even in those relationships, I think where we feel like it's, kind of one-sided, or you're the one mainly, you feel like trying to sustain the relationship. There's something that keeps you wanting to do it. There's something that you're getting out of it because, you're fighting to keep the relationship or maintain it.
Right.
Even when it doesn't feel fair or like, it's worth it. So.
Yeah, that's true. And I've had, relationships where, I guess, I have been there for the person and just, been a friend and a true friend to many people. And I've had the opposite return, to me. And when you have a friend that, we have a group of friends or whatever, and that person leans on your friendship when they need you. You know what I'm saying? When they don't need you or whatever, then you're not important, and you're not in their circle, and you're not on their radar, so to speak. But it's like, what can you do for me, basically? And that's what I'm calling or saying is a one-sided type relationship. So they're not really doing anything to maintain your friendship, basically. But it's like, you call on me when you need me, but you're not thinking about me the rest of the week, or the rest of the month or whatever. But hey, okay, I need something, so let me call Pam.
Absolutely.
Let me call Daphne, that type of thing. So, but when you're doing well, when you're doing well and you don't need anything, it's like out of sight, out of mind type thing.
Yes. And I would even say that this type of relationship have played out in my life with even my own family members.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just
your family. Your family is supposed to be your friends.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, a lot of times, because it was like 8 of us, so And we grew up, it was girl, boy, boy, girl, boy, girl, or, you know, girl, boy, whatever. So it was always two of us that were like a year apart. So we were, you know, the closest, like my two oldest siblings, and then me and my brother, we were the third and the fourth. So we were about 13 months apart. And then it was my next two siblings, your husband and my sister. And then the two babies, they were maybe the furthest apart, but they were close, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, growing up, my brother was my best friend. And we played together, we make up, you know, games or whatever, imaginary friends. And, you know, we had a ball just, you know, just with anything we could just, you know, imagine and make up. I think my brother and my oldest brother said he remember us playing with the kitchen chairs, and we would line the chairs up like we were on a bus. I was the passenger, he was the bus driver. And that was usually when, you know, we were having cleanup Saturday or whatever, and Mom would push the chairs into the living room while she was mopping the kitchen or whatever. And we would play Bubba, the bus driver. And I don't know where he got Bubba from, but that was the name of the game, or the name of our little game. So when we got older, he got friends. You know, he had friends in the neighborhood, and they would come down. He was no longer interested in being my friend and being, you know, and I had to go and get my own friends, you know. So your siblings can be your first buddies or your first best friends, you know, yes, growing up. And let's go ahead on. So we're getting into, this is part 3 of defining relationships. Says genuine friendships has no connection with personal gain or marital success. It doesn't depend on the changes in a person's position, their success or their failure. A friendship is one of those bondings that we can choose for ourselves. Friendship can be formed between same sex or different sex people. A lot of folks say that, you know, you can't have a girl can't have a guy as a best friend, but they can. But the common factors that it should consist of are trust. Should be able to trust each other, to be honest with each other, to respect each other, to be able to understand each other and have something in common. And also be able to offer that unconditional support to each other and have equal interests at heart. Research says that friendship in terms of intensity and quality is positively associated with life satisfaction. Friendship often highlights aspects of our personality. That's why we don't feel a similar connection with all of our friends, and vice versa, because you can have a friend that you're connected to for different reasons. Yeah. I can have a friend that has the same interest that I have, or let's say, if I was in high school or we were on the basketball team, we had that interest. Then I have a friend that may not be on the basketball team, doesn't share that interest, but we sing in the choir together at church. So that's another interest, and that's the connection that I have with that person. But basically, they highlight different aspects of our personality and who we are. I had a friend growing up that, we shared the singing thing, but she had another friend, best friend, that shared the basketball thing. I was a cheerleader because I play basketball. I could shoot all day long and hit, 3-pointers, everything. But as long as you weren't guarding me or in my face or whatever, and I didn't have to dribble and say I didn't have any coordination. So when it came to them trying to, I love basketball, but I was never a basketball player. So when it came time, they became part of the basketball team. And I wasn't sports oriented like that. I love to just shoot and play horse and that type of thing. Something that that didn't require me to have any coordination and run and dribble at the same time and all that stuff. And if I would just stand there and shoot, I could shoot all day. But when the rest of it came into play, I couldn't do it. So I wasn't good for the basketball team, and that's the interest that they shared. But, I had cheerleader friends, because basically I couldn't play basketball, but I could cheer. I could cheer for them, But we still remained friends, but we remained friends on a different level with different interests. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we brought that aspect out in each other. And that's how we connected. You have friends that maybe into fashion, maybe into hair, and maybe you're not, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean you don't connect, because opposites kind of still do attract. And it just depends on that personality and yours, and what you bring out in each other and what you have in common. It can be toxic in certain situations, and you got to separate yourselves from people that are toxic associations. According to a 2019 research paper, a genuine and honest friendship can prevent or alleviate loneliness or depression or social isolation, and support psychological well-being during later life. So having that genuine and honest friendship can carry you through a whole lot of things in life.
Yes, I agree.
You do have that genuine friendship like that. You have somebody that you can confide in, somebody that you can talk to that won't, judge you. That's going to be a listening ear, that's going to keep your secrets. There are secrets that I have kept for 40 years, from my friends, or, what I'm saying, maybe not 40 years, but, close to it, that type of thing. So, and there's certain things I would probably take to the grave that people have confided in me, because they confided in me as a friend.
Yeah.
And a true friend won't, reveal your secrets like that. And there are things that, I have confided in other people,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then, you have things that you share, shared experiences, that only you and this person shared or went through. And that's a bond, a friendship bond. So what you hear and say?
Oh no, that I agree. And I'm sure that those secrets that you're holding near and dear or close and have held for years were from friends that were like you were closely you guys were close friends, because I think you have different levels of friendships, or different levels, or different, I'll put it this way, different tiers of friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you have so-called friends that are toxic, and those are the ones that can't wait to tell and spill all of your business, but they still, some people just can't hold water.
Well,
And
well, if these are the friends, if you're calling the friends the friends who can't hold water, like, I don't know, or the so-called toxic individuals, friends,
because you would never reveal their secrets, but
would you, but
in conversation you're telling them something that you wouldn't want anybody to know, and then first thing, then some of them will bust out in front of you and tell you business, and you'd be like, I trusted you with that, you know what I'm saying? But they don't. Some people are so, I guess, into themselves, self-centered or whatever, that they don't see a problem with blurting out your business. But if you did that, then you just, the most horrible person in the world. But to them, it's like, they can't hold your secret, and it has to do with being around people like that, and you're still trying to maintain a friendship. It's like a one-sided type thing, and you're giving, and all they're doing is taking. And at some point, you have to cut that loose, cut your losses.
But these so-called friends, the ones who you say are toxic, I mean, if you know pretty much how they are, like their character, would you be telling them something that you didn't want to be disclosed anyways?
Right. And sometimes you get caught off guard and you forget, oh gosh, this person, loose lips sink ships, you know what I'm saying? And you get caught off guard, and you're made to feel comfortable in the situation, and you start talking.
Gotcha.
And then you're like, immediately you regret it, because you're like, oh gosh, she's gonna run and tell everybody that she can come in contact with. I know before we get off the phone, she's probably texting somebody now, that type of thing, because they can't hold anything. But they expect you to hold everything that happens to them.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, again, I'm still kind of like struggling with this so-called friend that's supposed to be, maybe a toxic individual, or a person that, like you said, kind of loves to share gossip or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I don't think that I would share with someone who I knew,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't keep my secret, safe. I think what I'm saying is, I know my circle, like my close circle of friends.
Yes, but a lot of times, it's not really evident to you that this person is toxic. After a while, it'll sink in, and it's like, okay, it's time for you to cut your losses.
Gotcha.
You've trusted this person over and over and over again. It's just like on the Peanuts cartoon. Charlie Brown trusted, who was it? Was it Peppermint Patty? Was it Lucy? Somebody
I think it's
hold the football and say, "Come on, Chuck. Come on, Chuck." As soon as he runs to kick the ball, she take the ball away from him, and he goes sailing through the air, but he would trust and fall into that trap every time. Come on, Chuck, you can do it. You can do it, Chuck. I got you. and they're supposed to be holding the football. And as soon as he starts to kick at the ball, she snatches the ball away, and he ends up falling on his butt, you know.
And I understand that. I mean, I understand that. And maybe that is, you know, could be your belief too, and thinking or hoping that, you know,
things are going to change, or
yeah.
And so is any like relationship. If you're in a relationship with a significant other, and you're holding out hope, basically, that, you know, he's going to change. You know, he's going to change. He's going to change. He's going to change. And that's a lot of what I talk about, the basis of the book, Daughters of the King Stop Kissing Frogs, because we think we can kiss the frog, then kiss the frog and turn him into a prince, or keep on fixing things in that person. And that, you know, happens with relationships and friendships. Amen. Well, at this time, we're going to take a quick break, commercial break, and we will return shortly on Free Souls Radio CF with more of Fireside Talks, the ingredients of godly relationships. We are back for more of Fireside Talks with your host, Elder Pamela Horn, and joining me this evening again, my sister-in-law, Daphne Horn. Amen. So we were talking about friendships, relationships, you know, and we got through that. Let's go on to romantic relationships. Yeah. Let's hit on that, because we're talking about the 4 basic types of relationships. So we did the family relationship last week. We just finished friends. So we're going to go on to number 3, which is the romantic relationship. There's a romantic relationship refers to when we feel strongly attracted to someone physically and emotionally. Mutual attraction mostly starts from a friendship and then evolves from liking each other. A 2017 study explains that the interplay between age and relationship length is the key factor that contributes to the development of romantic connections. A healthy romantic relationship depends on certain factors, including trust, friendship, compatibility, understanding, loyalty, passion, respect, deep bonding, love, care, and admiration. Such associations can exist between anyone. The way we feel for our friends and our romantic partners are not similar, as the difference is how we act out those feelings. So if you have a friend, it's not the same thing as having that romantic partner. You can love a friend, but you're not in love with your friend. But when you have a romantic partner, is different. It's on a different level, you know. Even with a spouse, well, let's say romantic relationship that ends up being marriage, you are on a whole different level with that person because you're joined together as one. So even your spouse would take precedence over any friendships that you had, or supposed to. And sometimes when it doesn't, that causes problems in the marriage, in the relationship.
I agree with that. It's funny that you went there. I was going to share that with just regular friendships versus a romantic relationship. I think that you probably put more, or put your all, or get,
effort.
effort into a romantic relationship. I think that you would actually put more actually spend more time with your romantic interest, whoever you're dating or seeing, versus a friend. I mean,
Mm-hmm. And I think that when you're in a romantic relationship, you don't want that person to see you at your worst. So in the beginning, it's like, you're showing that the best side of you, as opposed to a friend where you can relax and be yourself with that person, and they know, this is who this is, and you don't have to put on any airs or hide things from them. But when you're pursuing a romantic relationship, you want them to think different, about you, or you don't want to show your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses. But as the relationship grows and as you connect to that person, that's when you start being yourself and letting off who you really are, and they become your best friend.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you're able to bond like that. So when they become your best friend, then it's time to cut some other friendships loose. It's time to cut the guy's night out, the ladies' night out, where
or
sometimes you have friends that after they get married, it's like me, you, and her husband. So when I call you, he's in the background, commenting or whatever, and it's like, we're on speakerphone. It's nothing really private anymore, because it's like, oh, that's just so and so, but you have to make I guess changes or whatever in the friendship, because now you have that third person.
Yeah, you have to do, there's some adjustment, that's for sure. You have to dial it back a little bit with your friends, and begin to really put that your relationship, I think, prioritize it at maybe a little bit of a higher level, you
might continue things pretty much on a normal level for a certain amount of time, but you also have to give that person your attention. So a lot of times, you still kind of can make time for your friends, but after you're married, it's a whole different ballgame. Because your friends can't come over and hang out and have sleepovers or whatever, not on a every day or every weekend type basis, but if you know that they're married, your friend is married now, that person becomes part of your friendship.
Yes.
Because if they don't, then it's going to be conflict. So, I've always felt like, okay, when I have married couple or whatever, it's kind of hard to be the third wheel, so to speak. So I want to go to the movies with, you and your husband. And I kind of feel like, a third wheel, where it used to just be me and my best friend or whatever. It's like me, my best friend, and my best friend's husband. So they might not look at it that way, but coming from a single person's, perspective, it's kind of like, okay, it's not that you mind being around the other person, but you still kind of miss that one-on-one bond with your friend. And sometimes you can, put aside time for just you and your friend to hang out or whatever, but it's not gonna be on the same level as you're used to hanging with this person every Friday, or you're used to, doing certain things every week, or having lunch with the person. Maybe they're having lunch with their spouse now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe they're making time to meet up with their husband now, and you're not their priority anymore. He is,
as he
or
should,
he should be.
I was gonna say, as he should be.
Yeah,
or she
he should be. But
yeah.
it's sometimes when it's hard to cut that cord with that friend, and make that spouse the priority, it causes problems in the marriage. Because it's like, why is she here every day, or why is he here every day? You get tired of folks, but that friendship might have, you might have been friends since you was 12 years old,
Yeah.
and more like sisters or whatever. And then it's like, you know what, my friend over here, that type of thing, not every day, So you have to make those adjustments, and just adjust to life accordingly, and adjust to relationships when you're talking about romantic relationships. Now, romantic partners, it says, often share physical contact, which would not be appropriate in any other kind of connection. Sometimes arguments and disagreements can occur in such relationships, but can also be overcome through effective communication, compromise, and mutual understanding. So
yeah, I agree with that.
You make up in different ways too. As a romantic partner, you kiss and make up, basically. So as a friend, you might have your falling out and whatnot, but you don't have that same kind of connection with a friend, or you shouldn't have, because a lot of times people will have friends that they are maybe not romantically involved with, but they have those romantic type connections with. You don't understand what I'm saying, because we're talking about we're talking about like worldly relationships, where you have a friend, and that friend, even between a man and a woman who are supposed to be friends, sometimes what they call the friends with the benefits type thing.
Yeah.
But you're still friends, or you're still trying to maintain a friendship. That's why a lot of times people say, well, a man and a woman, they can't be friends, because it's gonna be more
feelings involved.
Yeah.
More than
that can be true. And then sometimes, it depends on, what lines and what barriers you cross, whether you cross those lines or not. But I find that a lot of times, even when you're friends with somebody, and you're just friends with a guy or whatever, sometimes deep connections like that, you find out that the person really want a romantic connection.
Absolutely.
But you kept them in the friend zone, or you wanted a romantic connection, but they kept you in the friend zone,
Well, I will say, just kind of going back to the like a newly married couple, a newlywed couple who both had friends or what have you. I do think, like you said, in reading one of the last lines, about this particular kind of relationship, that communication is the key, even when coming together as one. In a marriage, when those, I guess you could say, friends come over or you try to carry on as though, things were what they were prior to marriage. That communication is the key. I mean, and I think that that's something that newly married couple has to establish, and kind of work through. Not all newly married couples will experience, but some will, because some people, prior to marriage had really close friends and would kick it with them all the time. But what I will say, for me personally, I wish I could have been like my best friend in Houston, who could have really, really good like relationships with many, with girls, of course, but she was really good at having relationships with guys, her homeboys. I could never do that. I could never maintain a friendship with the opposite sex. It just I wasn't good at it. Or
well, I had a friend that was like that too, and it was like, everybody just gravitated towards her. Everybody just loved her, and the type of person you can just hang out with and just have a good time, and just be friends. And I have had
but it was her. It was also to her personality. I mean, she was different from me in that aspect. I mean, that's something that, you know what I mean? She was kind of like more social, I guess you could say, than I was.
Yeah. And but maybe she was she had some of the same interests as the guys do. Like a lot of girls, they get into sports and
very competitive.
Watch basketball with you, and they can sit and watch football with you, and do all of that stuff. I'm not into that, at all.
She was very competitive, I will say that, in everything. Yeah. And I wasn't so much, but she very competitive. So maybe that was kind of like a masculine quality, but she was really good at having just really, she could have boyfriends or guy friends, and she had many of them, and it was just really cool. I thought it was cool. I just could never.
Sometimes when you're a woman and you have a lot of guy friends like that, it's hard for the man to accept that, because they see these guys coming around, they're like, this guy wants my woman, you know what I'm saying? So no, we've been friends since we was, more like brother and sister, more like cousins or whatever. Sometimes you do, because sometimes you might not have a sibling, and you will bond with somebody on that level, and you're just like brother and sister, you're just like cousins or something. But people don't see it that way, and it's kind of hard to convince a man and a woman, if the woman is married and her husband has this female friend, it's like
I hear you on that note.
And
I just think that it was also too my preference not to have male friends. Not that, I mean, of course I talked to other males, in high school and college or what have you, but I want to say in high school it was more difficult for me. Maybe well, I don't know. I just never really maintained talking to male friends. I don't talk. I don't remember in college. Yeah, but if I was in a relationship, no, I wasn't talking to a male as a friend.
Right.
If I was out of a relationship, if I was single, and then I would maybe talk to males, some of my male friends more regularly. But if I was in a relationship, it was a no. I was not. I wasn't entertaining other male friendships. And that's
so
just
let's
that's
talk
just me.
about that healthy, the healthy romantic relationship. It depends on trust and friendship with that person, a bonding, you know, deep bonding, respect, you know, loyalty, being compatible and all of that stuff. So when you have that romantic relationship and you don't have that trust with that person, or you don't have that friendship with that person because you have a best friend that you confide in, but you don't confide in him. Or you have that best friend that you trust with everything, but you don't give him that trust. You see what I'm saying? Or you don't trust him being with his female friends or with his male friends, that he's gonna be faithful, because, you know, you can tell, you know, the playboys or whatever that come around your husband, you're like, okay, I don't trust him going out with so-and-so, because that's all he's doing is looking for women, that type of thing. He's single. And most of the times when you're married and you're in the church, when you're married, period, maybe not even in the church, but just as a married woman, you always advised not to hang around single friends.
Yeah, I agree.
So once you get married, you know, a lot of your single friends are left on the sideline because their influence on you and your marriage. You know, they may be telling you, oh, you always got to be in the house with your husband, and he don't let you go out, and he don't let you do this, and, you know, or something like that. Or they're always kind of like painting that grass is greener on the other side type picture. So you start putting it in your mind. I remember when I was single and I didn't have to go through this, and now I've got to consider this whole nother person, and I've lost myself, and I've lost, you know, some of my freedom, and I've lost things that interest me, you know, that I haven't been able to pursue because I put it on the back burner for him. So, and then you start looking at your single friends and how they're able to enjoy life and, you know, go on trips or go, you know, out of town, and you know, not be bound to another person or have to think about another person. A lot of times when you're married, you when kids come in or before kids come into it, you have to maintain home. So you can't pick up and go on a 2-week vacation with your girlfriends, you know,
right,
and leave your husband at home, you know. Number one, he's not going to be wanting his wife to be gone for 2 weeks away from him, you know. You have to be considerate of the other person that you're married to. So it's stuff like that, and you're seeing them on cruises and this, that, and the other, and you're like, well, you know, I miss my single days, you know. And then just as soon as, you know, you start having that type of mentality, it starts creating problems in the marriage, and say it ends up separating you and your husband, or you end up in divorce because you think the grass is greener on the other side, and you don't like the married life, so to speak. And then as soon as you are divorced, they get married. You're divorced now and you're single, and then they get married. So it changed, the dynamics change again. So it's like, you know,
well,
yeah. So you have to, you really, it's not really
But you have to watch that, like you
good
said.
thing to hang out with your single friends when you're married, you know.
Right. And then, I mean, that's, I think that's something that, if you prior to getting married, you're counseled, might even come up. I mean, I just personally, I don't think if you're a married couple, should be hanging out with a lot of single people, or, you know, your single friends on the regular. That's just me. I think that you should do things as a couple.
Because if you're hanging out with your single friends, then what are you doing with your single friends? What were you used to doing with your single friends? And if you're just hanging out, it's like, if you're out eating or whatever together, or you're out at the movies, or you're out wherever, maybe you're going to a party or a function or something together, as friends and hanging out, then you're going to be meeting people that's going to be like maybe out there hitting on them, and they might have a friend they're trying to hook you up with, and you're like, no, I'm married, but after a while, it's like sometimes you are kind of drawn into stuff that way, and then you start looking at your husband and thinking, okay, the grass is greener on the other side. Now here's this smooth talking fella coming along, and he's more fun. My husband just sits at home. He doesn't take me anywhere. He doesn't do this, doesn't do that, but he likes to hang out with his friends. But we don't do anything together. So you have to find that common ground where what you and him like to do.
Well, I think that's the danger, and maybe having your single friends around, or even hanging out with them while you're newly married. That's the danger in it. You have some people that do, though. I don't know how that plays out, but I personally, I don't hang out with single friends. I hang out with family, like you,
right.
With family. And so does my husband. He doesn't hang out with single friends. I mean, don't get me wrong. We both had our own individual lives before we got married, and I haven't lost myself, to doing things that I like to do. But I was pretty much a homebody when I met him. And so was he. But if he, wants to go, I don't know, sometimes here recently there was a person leaving the job. And so of course they had like a little, eating, or a little, meet here over here at the sports bar and grill, that type of thing. I mean, he's, I don't have a problem with that, or even him spending time with his brothers, or doing things with the family that I don't particularly want to be a part of. I mean, he does it all the time, but again, he's with family. He's not with anybody. And even if there are single cousins there, they know that we're married, and my husband knows he's married. And I'll tell you this, I don't know, I just value my relationship and my marriage over any friendship that that I would allow to cause problems in our relationship. So
we can't continue on forever, amen. So we're going to take this time to bring the show to an end for today. That is the conclusion to Fireside Talks, the ingredients to godly relationships. And we will be back on next Sunday. Amen. We'll be back on next Sunday with part 4 of defining relationships. So we're going to finish this series out with part 4. So at this time, it concludes our show for this evening. I'm inviting you to tune in every Sunday at 7 p.m. for Fireside Talks. You can purchase my book, Daughters of the King, Stop Kissing Frogs, on Amazon.com. And if you would like to partner with Consuming Fire Ministries, you can Cash App your donation to $Pam Horn, or support us by checking out our website at consumingfirebooks.weebly.com. Until then, blessings and peace.